At the start now for the final of the Double Sculls Challenge Cup. A grudge match here, Australia versus GB. In the Bark Station, it is the British combination from Nottingham Rowing Club and the Tideway Scullers Club, Matthew Haywood and George Bourne. And in the Buck Station, it is Australia, rowing as Rowing Australia. It's Jack Cleary and Caleb Antill.
This is going to be quite a match-up, isn't it? And their times yesterday, there was only a second between them to the barrier. So, both of them, this is an important part of their journey to the World Championships. Absolutely.
As soon as our new high performance director, Paul Thompson, came to the program, he said, right, we're going to Henley in 2022. The World Cup in Poznan just a couple of weeks ago was the first world rowing event, an international event other than the Olympic Games, that the Australian team has done in 3 years. So finally coming back to Henley has been such a thrill.
We've seen that, haven't we, with the huge overseas entry, that sense, the experience of being at Henley, the experience of every moment in your racing, rowing career you want to seize.
The Double Sculls Challenge Cup, Great Britain versus Australia.
This is one of the highest level events we're going to see today in terms of that top level international competition. So brilliant at Henley Royal Regatta. We have schoolboys, we have schoolgirls, we have clubs, we have universities, and we have the very best of rowing here from Australia and from the UK. And they've had a race to work out what it's like on this course, to get their steering sorted, and it is a power match from the word go, and neither of them is going to want to give anything at the start.
Looks like a slight advantage here maybe to the Australians, but more or less both boats locked together. Caleb Antill from the Australian Capital Territories, an old boy of Canberra Grammar School and a member of the Australian University Boat Club, National University Boat Club in the bow seat. Jack Cleary from West Australian Rowing Club. Bronze medalists at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics in the men's quadruple scull.
You can see absolute power coming off those 4 oars in the Australian crew, a relentless rhythm, a relentless amount of power. For both of them coming out of the start, there's a question of whether you transition and, or just really kind of hold on, and it looks like the Australians are just staying at that, high power, high rate to get ahead.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting entry, because the British combination 4th at Belgrade at the first World Cup. This Australian men's double were a dead heat for bronze in the Poznan World Cup. I've not seen that very often, but there were 2 bronze medals awarded, and they've actually switched the seating. So Jack was stroking that boat, and now Caleb's gone into the stroke seat. The only 2 returning members this year from the Australian men's quad, so giving things a go in the double scull here, coached by Lyle McCarthy.
And what confidence they must have coming off that result in Tokyo, to know that this combination works as part of the quad, and now to have the opportunity to come down to the double scull, where it's even more intimate, even more intense in some ways, and test yourselves on the water at Henley on the way to the World Championships. And they're looking strong, but absolutely you can see Haywood and Bourne are, again, incredible athletes, learning about this boat, learning about racing a double at top level. It's a new combination for GB this year. So they're on that journey, and this is an important day for them to try and see if they can take it up a notch and see how they can match themselves against the Australians. Looks like they were just adjusting their steering there, but I think they're back straight, keeping away from the boons. It's pretty good conditions today. It's pretty flat, but always with a bit of the Henley popple.
Yeah, wonderful conditions here. We've seen very challenging headwind conditions all week since the qualifiers, so I think crews were probably relieved to wake up. But wow, look at that big wash that's hit the Australians. They've come through it well, but tough conditions. You can see the pleasure craft going up and down this course. It's incredibly difficult, but it's all of what makes Henley, contending with the conditions, with the river. And those booms, they always seem closer than they are, don't they, Kat?
Always. It looks like Haywood and Bourne have actually really been working hard in that last 250 metres. They are not giving anything away at the moment to the Australians at all. For them, they know each other well. That's their first season as the GB double. They won under 23 gold in 2019 in the quad. So, had some experience of racing together, and that's so important in a race like this, to be able to communicate, to make some small adjustments. You can see in the bow, they're just taking a look across at where the Australians are. The Australians are up, but they can sense them. They have not got lost, and so you're both in the same race at this point.
And we know anything can happen. We saw the Aussies just get slammed by a bit of a wash there. We have seen all sorts of mishaps and trials and tribulations on this course this week, so the race is not over till it's over, but the Australians with a slight advantage at this stage of the race. And hello to those of you joining us from Australia, from West Australia, cheering on Jack Cleary in the bow seat, from the Australian Capital Territory in Canberra, cheering on Caleb Antill in the stroke seat. I'm sure that Caleb's mum, who rows at Canberra Rowing Club, her and her crewmates will be watching this, very excited to see the boys leading halfway down the track here at Henley Royal Regatta in the Double Sculls Challenge Cup.
So as they pass Remenon now, pass Upper Thames, that is looking pretty relentless from Caleb Antill and Jack Cleary. They have not faltered since the first stroke to just power down. There's an immense consistency in the way they are sculling. It's all about learning from Matthew Haywood and George Bourne. Can they now find another gear? Can they test themselves? Will they go slightly earlier for the finish? What can they do to try and upset dominance of the Australians?
Fantastic shot there across the course. The Aussies on the left-hand side of your screen, currently leading the crew from Great Britain. See the wonderful coaches launch behind with the Australian and British supporters and coaches. Of course, they're not allowed to speak, they're not allowed to gesture. It looks like Amy Fernandez, our Deputy Performance Director, taking a cheeky little photo out the side of the following launch there. Gwyn Batten, the umpire for the race. As they pass the mile, it is Australia currently leading this race. Caleb Antill and Jack Cleary over Matthew Haywood and George Bourne of Great Britain.
Haywood and Bourne talked about the ferocious sprints that were required in every single race at the World Cup. Again, like many events, it's so tight, and the positions change in the run-in, and how they were learning with each of the sprints, when to go, how to do it, to call the timing at a point when you're so exhausted. You have to race, you have to have those other gears. And so again, we'll see here, can they find a sprint? Can they lift? Looking across again in the bow there, what's required? A call has followed, a sharpening has followed there. As these athletes think, what can we do? What move can we make? There we go, definite increase in rate from the British crew there. They're going to have a go, they're going to see what's possible. Again, looking across, don't look across too much, stay in your boat. They can hear now the crowds in the enclosures. They know that it's getting to that sharp end of the race.
They're coming down to the last couple of 100 metres past the steward enclosures. Matthew Haywood, he's looking over desperately from the British crew over on the Bark station, but the Australian crew answering the call as they're coming down to the line, still with about 3/4 of a length lead. Caleb Antill and Jack Cleary. Jack looks over his shoulder. It's all going to come down to the last few metres here. Sprint to the line from both crews. The British moving up onto terms with the Australians.
They are moving, they've upped it, and it wasn't quite enough. The Australians are across.
What a race in the Double Sculls Challenge Cup. It is Australia, Caleb Antill and Jack Cleary taking the win over the crew from Great Britain, Matthew Haywood and George Bourne. What a final we've just witnessed. Confirmation of that result there.
Really impressive from the Australians, but they were tested at the end.
Well done, guys. Congratulations. That looks a really tough race, Jack.
Yeah, it was a great battle down the course. It's an amazing calibre in the field, and we didn't get to verse them at our World Cup 2. They performed at World Cup 1. We were at 2, and it was really good to see what the best of GB had to offer, and it was a bloody close race. Really enjoyed it.
Caleb, your first Henley experience, how have you found it?
It's been great. I love the atmosphere. All the people around is awesome, and being able to come away with a good result first time round is really, really awesome. And big thanks to Jack for towing me down, and look forward to hopefully coming back.
Jack, how does this set you up for the World Championships?
It was just another set of opportunities to really work in what we've been grooving in training. It's an amazing course, well-renowned, challenging conditions, so we really took to it each and every opportunity we had, and it's invaluable experience moving into World Cup 3 and the World Champs at the end of September.